What if I told you that being good with money has way less to do with how smart you are and pretty much everything to do with how you behave? It sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, today we're diving into Morgan Housel's brilliant work to unpack the hidden psychological forces that really, truly drive our financial success.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to talk about why your behavior is so much more important than your brains. Then we'll get into the sneaky financial biases that mess with our heads. We'll look at the danger of always wanting more, how to actually play the long game, and finally, we'll talk about the ultimate goal of all of this, which might not be what you think.
Okay, first up, behavior over brains. And we are kicking this off with a story that's going to challenge just about everything you think you know about getting rich.
So let me just ask you this, straight up. Who do you think ends up wealthier? A regular, everyday janitor or a high-flying executive with a fancy Harvard MBA? I mean, the answer seems obvious, right? But maybe not.
And this is a true story which just makes it wild. On one side, you've got Ronald Read, a lifelong janitor who, when he passed away, had quietly built an $8 million fortune. No joke. Then, on the other side, Richard Fuscone, the Harvard MBA, the Merrill Lynch executive who ended up declaring bankruptcy.
So how on earth does that happen? Well, it's because financial success isn't a hard science. It's a soft skill. Ronald Read got one thing right: the power of patience, of consistently investing over a very, very long time. Fuscone, for all his intelligence, fell into the trap of lifestyle inflation and chasing these risky, short-term home runs. It's literally the tortoise and the hare, but playing out in your bank account.
And that idea leads us perfectly into our next section, our hidden financial biases. I'm talking about the invisible forces that are constantly pulling the strings on our decisions, most of the time without us even knowing it.
Let's start with a big one that we don't like to talk about: luck. We love a good pull-yourself-up-by-your-bootstraps story, don't we? But let's be real. Take Bill Gates. He had unbelievably rare access to a school computer way back in the 1960s. That single stroke of luck gave him a gargantuan head start. Now, is hard work crucial? Absolutely, but we have to admit that random chance is always in the mix.
Now, for a second, I want you to think about the exact opposite of random chance. Think about something like NASA's mission to Pluto, a journey of millions upon millions of miles, all planned out with this just mind-blowing pinpoint accuracy. It's a total masterpiece of control and predictability.
And then you've got the financial markets. And the contrast here is everything. The market is not a physics problem. You can't just solve it with a formula. It's driven by the messy, collective emotions of millions of people. Fear, greed, panic, you name it. We fool ourselves with this illusion of control, but you just can't predict the market like it's a rocket's trajectory. It doesn't work that way.
And speaking of emotion overriding logic, get a load of this. People in the US spend more money on lottery tickets than on movies, concerts, and sporting events combined. I mean, from a pure, rational, mathematical standpoint, that makes absolutely zero sense.
But here's the thing. What looks totally irrational on a spreadsheet can make perfect emotional sense to a person. For someone who's really struggling, who doesn't have a lot of options, the lottery isn't an investment strategy. It's buying a dream. That tiny glimmer of hope can feel way more valuable than the dollar it costs. And you gotta respect that. This idea of our emotions driving the bus leads us straight to our third point: the danger of more. This is that psychological trap of social comparison, where the goalposts for happiness just keep on moving. And it forces us to ask a really, really important question that I think we should all take a second to think about. What does enough actually look like? For you. Not for your neighbor, not for the people you see on social media, but for you.
There's this fantastic story that illustrates this so well. The author Kurt Vonnegut is at a party hosted by a billionaire, and he points out to his friend Joseph Heller, who wrote Catch-22, that their host had made more money in that single day than Heller had earned from his masterpiece novel in its entire history.
And Heller's reply is just brilliant. He says, "Yes, but I have something he will never have. Enough." Wow, that just hits you, right? And that's the perfect description of what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much more we get, a raise, a new car, whatever, our brains just adapt super quickly. We go right back to our baseline level of happiness, and then we're on to wanting the next thing. It's a game you can't win.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the why. Let's get into the how. Section 4, playing the long game. This is all about strategy for the real world.
Housel uses his awesome car analogy to explain risk. Think of those high-growth stocks as a flashy, new sports car.
You get incredible performance, right? But it also comes with super high volatility. Then you've got staple index funds. That's kind of like a reliable used car. It's not going to turn heads, but it'll get you where you need to go with much lower volatility. And get-rich-quick schemes? Well, that's just trying to steal a car. You're trying to get all the reward without taking on any of the risk. And that, my friends, almost always ends in a crash.
So what's the takeaway? Volatility, those big swings in the market. It's not a fine you pay for doing something wrong. It is the price of admission. It's the cost of getting returns. And the huge mindset shift you need to make is to see market downturns not as a penalty, but as an opportunity. It's a sale. It's your chance to buy great assets for a lower price.
So how do you actually build wealth in the real world? It's a marathon, not a sprint. The strategy is actually pretty simple, but it's not easy. You have to start as early as you possibly can. You've got to invest consistently, even if it's just small amounts. You have to let the absolute magic of compounding do the heavy lifting for you over decades. And you have to embrace the mindset of getting rich slow, just like our friend Ronald Read, the janitor.
And that brings us to our final, and honestly probably the most important section of all, the ultimate goal, time. This is where we redefine what wealth actually means.
So what is real wealth? It's not about having $1 billion to buy more and more stuff. True financial freedom, as Housel defines it, is about having options. It's about having control over your own time. It's the simple but incredibly powerful ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want. That's it.
And Morgan Housel just nails it with this quote. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. I mean, that's the real goal, isn't it? The greatest thing money can buy is control over your time.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final question to really chew on. Take a hard look at your own life, your own finances, and ask yourself honestly, is your money buying you a better life, or is it just buying you more stuff?